now in my after several thousand hours of playing, like sort of like cold running caves like that makes sense. But back in the beginning, I remember being much more intimidated by the caves and getting lost a shit ton more. And it's like some of them were so, like, I didn't have like this slideshow in my mind of like, okay, here's how this usually plays out. Here's what they might do. It might be that I need to grapple up to the top of this roof and do something. But until you go through that once, you're not really looking for that. And I felt like those caves were just so damn hard. I had to watch a video. Hell, I've had to watch a video, and I think we did it just to get back out. Like, we had to stop and ask a guy one time. Like, he was flying by on a pterodon. We were like,
"Hey, brother,
how the hell did we get out of here?" And like, I think he even told us, and then we came back by him a little bit later. He had to like lead us out of there. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
he told us, and not even that worked. Welcome gamers, non-gamers, PvEers, PvPers, and even NPCs. This is the New Wave Gaming Podcast, episode 50 with ChukTomahawk. What's up, Chuck?
Hey, what's happening, man?
And myself, Ovox, and we're super stoked to have you here on this, episode 50. Boom. We're pushing through. We're halfway to 100, and we ain't gonna stop. Especially with all these ARC maps coming out and all these new creatures and updates and stuff. We're super excited about that. If you've been listening for a while, then you know that we have a unhealthy obsession with ARC Survival Evolved and now ARC Survival Ascended. And yes, we have fallen back into that deep, dark pit. I think, Chuck, correct me if I'm... Oh, hold on, let me move this microphone cord. I don't want it bouncing against the mic. Okay, there we go. I might be wrong here, but I had this like very subtle vibe that when Pepe was like, which caught me off guard. I got to say this. It really caught me off guard that it was Pepe Tortilla that was the one to be like, hey guys, we got to get in that scorched earth. We gotta play ARC again, because usually that's not the case. But that was really awesome. But with all that, I don't know why I kind of had this like subtle vibe that when we were like, "Hey man, we're going back over to ARC," that you were just like, "What the hell do you mean we're going back over to ARC? We've only been on GTA 5 for like 3 weeks, month tops, and now you guys are pulling my ass over to this other game again." We just got over here.
Oh, you mean let's go back to the server that just, months of work just decayed and went away from, and start that all over? Yeah, is that what you're talking about? And yeah, maybe I had the feeling of like, if they just left me alone, I would have never came over. I would have never went to Helldivers.
Not to mention Helldivers.
And had to yell at everybody. And then also, wouldn't have went to GTA. I'd still have, all my little stuff there. Yeah. Yeah, it crosses my mind. I think more than anything, though, it's like I think what would be an interesting topic for us, us to talk about here is what is it that is that moment that makes you decide like I'm bored of this, and we need to abandon this, or I don't think we ever say we're abandoning it. But we move on, and just a general observation. I think my threshold for when I get to that point is very different than y'all's, but I also don't want to play alone. I don't have to play with you every minute, but you have to be coming into the game for it to be, even entertaining for me at all. But I don't mind playing alone a lot, as long as we're all kind of cooperating on it, on the larger picture, at least getting together on the weekend or something about it. But yeah, there is something. And it factors in when you come at me like, hey man, let's switch over and play, so and so, and I'm thinking, looks like it'll entertain you for about 3 weeks, and
I hear you loud and clear, man, and I'm sure there's a lot of fellow gamers out there that are just like, God damn, Chuck, I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah,
fucking ditch these two to the curve, man. Come join. No. You're gonna start getting emails, dude. People saying, "Chuck, come join us, brother."
No,
fuck those guys.
It's never like that. But there's something about like that. I enjoy the grind. Like a lot of times, like throwing on a podcast and just going out and getting metal and stuff. So when you are kind of like stockpiling things for the long haul, like. It does like kind of you have sort of a different end date in mind, like of how long you're doing this. Like you're kind of setting forth a path that is the slow burn, and then it's like you show up and it's like, we're gonna get just a little bit. We could do the boss fight. We could probably get all 3 boss fights in today. Like it's like, you're just like. Haven't we been accumulating things for like 3 weeks to prepare for this one thing? Like, does rushing it seem like a good plan? Like, that's going to run out well? Like,
Yeah.
But they're also, there is a counterpoint. Like, yeah, I could probably play forever and never do the boss fights, and have the intent of getting around to them. But, I made an awesome set of dinos for boss fights a couple play ago that never fought a boss. Like,
okay, I got to say something there.
Yeah.
In my defense, because everything you said is even your own counterpoint was spot on. Everything you said is spot on, and then your own counterpoint was spot on. Because you're right. Like, at the very least, if you haven't kind of gathered this already, fellow gamers, we did a boss fight last night. And it didn't. It failed. But you mentioned a great thing. Like, at least we can say already that, hey, we've already done a boss fight, even though it didn't go up. But I really, I didn't. I never expressed it, but I did. I felt bad about that point. That we mostly you, 90% you, and then I remember helping with the saddling. But you bred all of the Rexes and did the bulk of the work to set up a boss fight.
Not
on our last time. On the last playthrough on the island, and we were literally like very close to doing that boss fight. And then just the way Chuck described it, like we just kind of started playing. I think it was Helldivers perhaps, or maybe I don't remember exactly, but I think it was Helldivers. That kind of lines up in the timeline. And then point being, that boss fight never occurred, and all of that footwork that Chuck did really never culminated in even an attempt at the boss fight. So I felt bad about that up to date, and that's kind of why I, without saying anything or without it like going in any other way, I kind of wanted to take on the responsibility of handling all of that. Mm-hmm. Exactly because I still felt bad that you had did all that work and it never culminated. So I don't want anyone to deal with boss fight stuff except myself, prepping it and getting it ready, and except maybe getting the artifacts, which is just generally fun and anyways for everyone because there's loot boxes and stuff. But yeah, I was like, man, kind of fucked Chuck on the low key there on that last one, so I want to make sure I take care of all of this time so that they can just do whatever they want, and then when the boss fight's ready, we can do it. But yeah, so going back, that all makes sense, man, because I sensed it. Like when I said, hey man, I think Pepe really wants to do a Scorched Earth run. What do you think? And I remember you did. There was a very long silence, and followed up by like a, huh.
Yeah, but I get it. Like it does. I don't know. Like I kind of can. I sort of dislike change so much that I can play stuff to it is nauseatingly boring, and because when we were, when we were back at where we were on say these servers, all I was doing is just I would run the caves and then I would go around the map in the ocean and collect as many black pearls as I could, and get on the Discord and buy things with them from other players. Like, and yeah, I mean, I wasn't really, like that. That was all I could really come up with to do. And and I would get that new thing that I bought, and I'd play with it for a few minutes, and then I'd continue doing that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And I was always looking for, getting new things in the caves and stuff. But it I think then y'all came along, and I can't remember if that's when we went to Helldivers, and I guess that is when we went to Helldivers, and then ended up ultimately over on GTA. And even in the Helldivers thing, like, you got tired of it first, I think before Pepe Tortilla and I did, and hell, I'd probably still be playing that. I mean,
you know what it is? At what point, do you start feeling that like, God, I kind of want to play something else? And I think everyone handles it differently. Like, some people don't even like to play in a chat, in a party. They only like to play alone, and they have those games lined up, to keep it rotating so that nothing ever gets boring.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we do that a tiny little bit, like, I know Pepe Tortilla will go play Tunic a little bit. I've been playing Tunic a little bit, but yeah, like, and I don't feel like I ever get to the point where we'll go back to Grand Theft Auto, like, or even Helldivers. I didn't get bored of it, but I could feel that I could feel that initial, like, this is starting to get a little repetitive. It's not boring yet, but I can feel it going in that direction. So my brain says, maybe I should give this a break so that it doesn't get boring and then never come back to it. Because I do have, like, these, every now and then I'd be like, man, it would be fun to play some Helldivers. Because I didn't get bored, because the game is fun. I just felt like it was kind of getting a little repetitive. And that's when I started bringing it up. Mm-hmm. But by that point, you know what happened? I saw that Grand Theft Online was on sale for PS5, and it was only $9.99. And I was like, the remastered, updated version for the new console, And then I mentioned it to Pepe, and I didn't think he would actually be like, oh shit, I'm gonna get that, which he did. And then we just found ourselves on there, and it was just like, it was almost like a whole new game compared to the last time we had played Grand Theft Auto Online. It was like, whoa. And then, we, it's like per usual, like, hey, Chuck, hey, Chuck, you got GT. And then not much long later, Pepe was like, hey, Chuck, dude, you got to re-download Battlefield 1.
Yeah. And we did play some, like, and I guess I can make another general observation too. Like I feel like those are more like situational, like say just over a period of time or even sort of a day, you get to a place like where, okay, this is starting to show signs of, I can see boredom coming. Mm-hmm. But like here's an example in GTA. I also noticed that like, say, what I considered a long way and what you consider a long way, like to go in a vehicle or something, like where I'm going to, snap and say, fuck, I've got to go get a plane or something. Like I'm not driving, like 5.6 miles in this video game or
what do you mean I got to go from the docks all the way up to Vinewood?
And I would say, my long way is somewhere around 4 miles or something in that game. And I would say yours is probably something like 3 or
even 2, like 2 miles is like, damn, man, 2 miles. Yeah.
Well, and I will say like, I don't have the backup proof for it or whatever, but there are times like where I think in your case, it's either like you're going to get there in a minute or you're going to get there in like 3 minutes. Like because usually to go get that plane and get in it and everything, it's pretty marginal that you're going to beat it anyway.
Oh, dude, no, but I always put that into my analysis because I pull up where it is and be like, okay, based on where I am and where that vehicle is, whether it's one that I spawned in or one that I knew is like, oh, I know there's a helicopter on this building. I'll gauge that in my decision making.
Oh yeah, I feel like you do, but I feel like maybe that's it. Like I'm seeing that there's an impatience that creates a bias there that almost, even when it's taking you longer, makes you feel like that you're getting there faster somehow, because you're never experiencing that. The Deluxo is a great example of it. Like flying through the air at 88 miles an hour feels incredibly slow. But ultimately it takes right the frick off, and it goes straight there. And even though you might have, done some heroics and jumped, over this and that and landed, and we all ran and got in the helicopter, and it went 160 miles an hour all the way there. Like, it's marginal. Like, but
I'll take marginal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying like change, like, hey, you should think about this, but I will say that ultimately, like, whatever that, threshold is, like that, for me, it's, I think of it as patience, just like, kind of like, ultimately, like, you're racing, in my opinion, you're racing toward that moment of when you're like, okay, this is getting repetitive or whatever. And I could say, like, yeah, probably you feel like if it's taking too damn long, like, that's also going to send me to that moment or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think, somewhere in my mind, I'm thinking like, like there's no sense in rushing this. Like there's not, like, I'm in a campaign or something. Like I'm.
But it is always the same thing. It's always the same thing. Sell mission.
Delivery.
Hey guys, you want to help me sell my gut?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll help you sell you. And then, so, if that's I mean, if that's the spirit of of this beast, and I'm just worried about how fast the heart beats, it doesn't matter because the spirit's already fucked. Like, they're just sell missions. It's like, it's the definition of repetitive. So, if getting that marginal gain in the time so that I can get another one in quicker and get more money, because that's all we're doing is getting more money so that we can get stuff. And you, even more than Pepe and I, are already closer to that point where it's like, well, what else are we going to buy?
Yeah. And the buying doesn't necessarily seem to be like produce the hype, like it doesn't live up to the hype that you feel like, oh man, when I get that, I'm going to do this and that. Like it doesn't.
Could you imagine if Rockstar? Sorry. Could you imagine if Rockstar was able to nail that the way Wildcard did? No one would ever get off GTA.
You're right.
Because, dude, there's something about Ark, man. There's something about it that, like, it's such a perfect slow burn, or you can crank it up, but its slow burn factor is just, it's so, you can just play it forever, man. And there's always something you can do, like some adventure you can go on, like something you can build, tame, breed, mutate, craft, cook, incorporate, paint, place, like interact, go to war, make peace. It's just like,
yeah, and
so
I think
crazy.
like there's something about, though, the mindset that we approach these things from, and I had sent you something earlier today, like a quote from that Soren Johnson, I think he was one of the developers on Civilization 3, and it was several years ago that he made this quote, but it was saying, the quote was that given the opportunity, gamers will optimize the fun out of a game. It kind of, it's a thing that happens, it's like, you just, in your example of the deliveries, like getting them done faster is like an optimization of how fast you're going to get that money to get that thing. But ultimately, we both recognize that if we had all the money we wanted and bought things, like everything we wanted, the game would be over. So, we're basically optimizing our path to get to the finish, to, when in reality, like, we've been playing video games pretty much daily for years. Like, so we're going to be playing something. you know.
Yeah, dude. I hope no responsible adults hear this episode. They're gonna be like, every day for years.
Yeah, like you know,
not every day, fellas. Not every single day. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, even if it's just checking in for a few minutes or something. I'm not saying we get up and do it daylight till dawn or daylight till the end of the day or whatever. But we're going to be in there, and yeah, it's kind of like that argument of is the destination sort of the fun part or the journey, and and I think, to me, like, we should probably try to optimize fun a little more. And I think who's great at this is Pepe Tortilla. Like, I've described it as like he finds like alternative ways to have fun in games, and like the boat is a good example of that. Like
oh yeah,
it's not exactly advancing us to the boss fight. I mean, we're getting like blueprints and stuff ultimately from it or whatever, but it's kind of it's like an alternate sort of. It's not optimized, like as in like the fastest way to get the best blueprints or whatever, but it was fun as shit. Like
yeah, that we were having a blast.
Yeah,
I think that's also why we never ended up actually like. Well, I mean, we ended up going over to Helldivers, but I remember that everything was ready for the boss fight. We had finally gotten the Rex blueprint for a good saddle. And then we ended up making that like raft boat thing, and we just spent the rest of the Arc days fishing.
Yeah.
It's like all the Rexes were back at base going, and we're out fishing like on the other side of the island.
Yeah,
God, that was fun.
Yeah,
turned out the whole fishing mechanics are actually kind of fun, man. Especially if you're getting blueprints and shit and rare resources. That turned out to be so much fun.
And yeah, it was it, and everything in a game kind of has like some. It almost seems like our minds have just been sort of to focus on that meta though. Like even if you take the fishing, like at first we were just like fishing away, like I think we'd gotten some leech blood here and there. We made primitive fishing rods and things, and then like I killed an alpha mousosaur and got a ramshackle fishing rod or whatever. It's like
the next level up.
Like, I mean, we got to get one of those, and then it's like, well, shit, how do you get the ascendant one? So we need a blueprint for those, like, and like and then suddenly fishing with the primitive one like ain't the same no more, like exactly like
damn, dude. Yeah, I see what you're saying, man.
Yeah, it optimizes.
Read that phrase again.
Given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a video game.
Damn.
And I think sort of two companion quotes to it are that essentially if water will find a crack. Essentially, like a lot of times when they develop these games, one of the reasons they put them out into beta is because they don't really know what they got until people get a hold of it. And, all of a sudden everyone, I'm trying to think of a good example of that. You know how there's just little things that'll be like, oh, you can do this and it'll kind of glitch that, or it'll cheese that. Like the bosses in Valheim were like that a lot. They were so freaking hard, but you'd end up ultimately watching a video and it's like, well, if you go get in this tree and you swing your sword, in this direction every time, eventually this works. Like it's kind of a cheeser of it, but ultimately it is, it's the meta for like, how you get through there. Like, and I think probably there's one more quote. It's kind of like it's almost and this is a little bit of paraphrasing, but the quote is something to the effect of the job of developers to protect players from themselves. Like in that, like if we leave a crack over here, like if we say, okay, we're going to add this honor, metric to honor system to Arc, and you have an honor meter, and to do these acts you get honor, and ultimately like that, suddenly somebody will find, like, if you stand by a gecko baby and do X, Y, and Z, like it'll cause your honor to go up or whatever. And so instead of like using it like it was originally intended, probably in some PvP way or something. Like people just stand on a beach beating geckos, like, which isn't fun. Like, compared to being like,
I see.
The honor king of PvP, like actually earning it, like in the real way or whatever.
Yeah, by going to battle and stuff against other tribes and raiding and looting.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's interesting, man. Because I think what you're describing is something that gamers, both unknowingly and knowingly, have been doing since minute one of gaming.
Yeah.
I can't think of an early example of this, but
a great early example is Mario Brothers, when you could do that glitch, I think on level 1-3, where you're going up a set of stairs and there's a turtle shell, and if you just stand on those stairs and hit it back and forth off that stair, you start getting 1-ups. And
oh yeah.
Ching, 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 and next thing you
That's
got 99
right.
men.
And it just goes up every time it gets to 100. It gives you a 1-up, right?
Yeah. And so now,
Chuck,
the
great
game has
early
changed.
example.
Yeah.
Dude, you might beat the game using that technique, dude.
The consequences
a
are
hard
different
game.
now, like for sure. Like I can be less careful, like like I've got more men, and I'm saving my hard-earned quarters, like put that roll of quarters back in my pocket, like, and the people guy behind me, he's like, well, fuck this, like.
Well,
It's pole position. Yeah,
that's something else.
it's not something to overthink, but it is something to remember. And I think like the differences in our personalities is one of the things that makes it fun. Like I say, I think also left to my own devices, I played that game Clash of Clans on my phone farther than I should have played it. Like, and I think the guys I was playing with, like, are still playing.
Damn mobile gamer. Just kidding.
Yeah, just like it just. Yeah, they're different, like, but. I saw Bobby Lee, the comedian's like playing Stardew Valley. He's got like the ultimate Stardew Valley world set up.
I heard about that.
Sometimes I finally saw it. I've heard him talk about it, but he had I saw a TikTok today of him showing a buddy about it, and Bobby Lee does some weird shit. Like
him, his brother. They're unique humans, man.
Yeah.
They crack me up, dude.
His little gaming spot, his current gaming spot is like in a closet, sort of like like at his house. Like,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he's like, I get really loud. I just didn't want to bother anybody, and like it's like he's loving it in that little closet. But,
that's funny. That's funny.
But I think ultimately it's just important to remember to have fun in games, and developers probably should save us from ourselves a little bit, but
how would they do that? Would they do that maybe by just bulletproofing their game, making sure there's
they hear of that exploit? Because it does seem at times like Ark leaves the exploits in there.
Well, and there's even been cases where exploits that were not intended, or bugs or mechanics that were not intended. I can give you a great example here in a second, that the developers become aware of, and they realize that, oh, wait a minute, that's actually like really good for the game. We'd never thought about that. Let's incorporate it as an actual, like, let's program it in there. And so that's obviously rare that's the case. I can think of like No Man's Sky. You hit a button and it does this like weird like melee punch, but it's
to jump.
But if you do it right when you jump forward and boost, it can kind of like make you go very far distances, which saves you time in traversing the map. It's actually like, it's great. It's a great little mechanic. And anyways, that wasn't intended at all. Like, but they I don't know if they went into like develop around it or program around it, but they definitely like acknowledged that was not intended, but now it's actually like they recognize it as an actual like action, a move, but like you're saying, that's rarely the case that it's that it turns out to be a good thing. It's usually ends up becoming an exploit, a bug.
The re-roll in Ark when we would like you would be imprinting something and you would cryopod it and it would change when you would throw it back out. It changed the
the imprint
requirement, and that was by accident, I think. And ultimately, when they took it out, they made that Gigaraptor have that ability.
And only once.
Yeah. It's interesting how, like these little, these are the water finding the crack. I think they talk about like where, if you throw it out to enough people, like somebody is gonna, do. Because
I mean, using Ark again, like an extreme example of this, I think would be like how, somewhere they left a crack in the game that manifested in the form of players being able to mesh quite easily, where they would get behind the map, and they would see this a lot in PvP, right? The player would find a place where they could mesh through the map and then get under the base of the enemy tribe or whoever they're going to battle with or whoever they want to raid. And, they'd end up in there and just tearing shit up, right? And then whoever was trying to defend or find how or what was killing their tames or blowing up their base or whatever, they'd be like, well, where is this attacker? Well, he's meshed in the map. You can't even get to him, right? That's a huge crack, and it's someone that's exploiting it. It's water getting into the crack. And then even though that attacker is clearly in the advantage in winning and effectively cheating, water in the crack, they're also, even though they're not thinking of it this way, they're really defeating the purpose of the whole experience of prepping for battle, storming the gates, all the fun behind that, just by what we're talking about, instead of, and that this isn't a case of optimizing, but I guess in a situation like that attacker is like optimizing the effort in a sense by knowing there's this crack in the game that where I can mesh through and I can take the easy way out to attack this enemy base, take all their stuff, so on and so forth. But yeah, going back, it's not as fun, right? It's like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
And if they could just fix that crack, they could seal that crack that is like this meshing example, they are saving us from ourselves in a way, because like it is fun to do all of that stuff. That's the point.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I'd much rather do a frontal assault or a strategic assault or a 2-man 1 base like that YouTube channel. What was the name of that channel, dude? Where those guys would do the 2-man versus 2-man 1 base.
I can't remember the name.
Gosh
of the channel.
Darn! What was the name of the channel? Oh my gosh, it was gosh, it's gonna come to me in a minute.
I would have thought 2-man 1 base were the name of the channel, but
no, it's just those video series they do. But remember that, like that would be way cooler than like finding a spot where you can mesh into the and go cheat and come up under the analyzing, plotting, strategizing, collecting all the stuff you're going to need for your assault, crafting the C4, scheming with your tribe mates. You can create a little war room and put the map up and everything, and you get torches going. You're like, all right, guys, we've mapped out the base. We've observed from heights. We've flown over. We've got a whatever. It's so much fun. And then when you actually choose the time to attack, be it a surprise assault, a full on like frontal gates, or if you're sneaking in with grappling hooks and going in all strategic, like 2-man 1 base. God, I wish I remember the name of that channel. But or do I cheat? Find that crack in the wall, as Chuck's described it, seek in there, get in the mesh, and then just go in there and wreak havoc.
Not the
same.
And there's levels of all this too, because you could even say that watching the videos ahead of time are a little bit of a cheat. Not necessarily in your example of the raid, but say if like we're going to fight a boss or run a cave to get an artifact or something, having that.
I don't know. The last video I watched on the fucking boss arena on Scorched Earth failed me tragically. But I see what you're saying.
Well, too, like,
hey, just take Rexes. It'll be fine. The Manicorb will land, and you just fuck him up. Well, he doesn't land. And when he does, he just kind of does this little ballerina tap on the ground, and then gets back up into the air, and God, it was difficult.
Well,
then
and too,
again,
like
our
I don't
Rexes
feel
weren't the
like
best.
I feel like we're so like entranced too sometimes in the information age that we don't realize like some of the consequences of it. And I've seen lately like talking like about food, where restaurants are starting to serve things that actually are very photogenic more than things that aren't, because like your Instagram game became incredibly important like in that field. And an example of that, like the videos that get online are entertaining videos. Like one of the things that happens in these games is not very long into them, especially if it's like a 2D platforming or something like that, you start to see speed runs. And after you've watched enough speed runs, it kind of changes the way you even play on the day to day, because like you know, going back to our example in GTA, like that little bit of margin of something not taking as damn long, like starts to mean a lot. And you know, and where I experienced this recently is in that Cayo Perico heist. Like I kind of like at first was playing it one way, and then I watched some speed runs, and you know, there's places you realize like it's to your advantage to die. Like, you know, you die, like you're on the other side of the map and you die, and it respawns you back at the airport where you're headed anyway. Like you just saved 2 minutes. Like, and but it's counterintuitive. Like, you know, hell, I'm trying to stay alive. Like, you know,
Stay alive.
like whatever. I just snuck by all these guards, and now I'm going to let them see me. Like, you know, but it, you know, it's I think that fun, you know, I think example of like fun ideas in the other direction would be like if I'm playing Ark and I decide, you know, I'm going to kill a Giga with a Dodo. Or you know, like the kind of extreme, we're going to do this boss fight with 8 Rexes instead of 18. Like, you know, how can I find a way? And,
or no, how can I solo the boss fight with no Rexes? You know, one shotgun. Yeah. All you need, solo boss fight. All you need shotgun. That's the name of the video. Dodos. Yeah. And then all you can hear is the boss going.
Well, this is something, like I say, I feel like Pepe Tortilla has a natural talent for. Even in real life, even like I feel like he's really good at it. Like,
what's that?
Like just finding alternative ways to have fun, like with anything.
Dude, wait till you sign in today and see all the fucking work he did on the base.
Actually, I think he showed me right before we got off last night, like the candles and stuff. And
no.
He kept on decorating.
Dude, yeah. Let me. Oh, by the way, we got more artifacts.
Oh,
After
nice.
you signed up.
Nice.
Speaking of taking time and just enjoying the game, I'm scratching my head here.
You guys did come back. Yeah, I went after I parted ways with y'all. I went over to the island and like when I got to my cave, it was people were already in it, and I just came back and went to bed. So yeah, you guys had some playtime after that.
Man, that's cool. The island is. Maybe we should. Never mind. Shit, I was gonna start proposing shit, completely going against the grain with everything.
What I want to do on the island is build another boat and put our flag on it and see if that works. Like,
ooh,
you know, just basically kind of. Yeah, because typically I go over there and I run the underwater cave, and then I'll go run Central Cave. But we've got to get some frogs, some Beelzebufos to do the Swamp Cave again. I tried it without one, and boy, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
The frogs
I don't know. We
boost.
should. It'll be cool to try that. I don't think it'll work right now, at least because the boat, the raft, kind of acts like as a tame. Like it acts like in that regard. Yeah,
you're right.
You know,
you're right. But if nothing else, you know, just make a little port. Because the other day I had to build a home just because I was getting ready to go to like walk the dog or something, and was like didn't feel like going back to our other things. So but I took it back down, and I had it on me. I think when I got killed over there, but yeah, you know I found that quote pretty interesting. And I felt like it must have been something that just got said because for some reason it's kind of getting hyped up on TikTok right now. Like a lot of the gamer content creators are kind of responding to it. And
yeah, I noticed it was a 3-year-old video. The one that,
Yeah.
at least the video that you shared with me, it was from a few years ago.
Yeah, and that was somebody kind of applying it to World of Warcraft, which is something I haven't played, but I do see some art sort of things going on.
Oh
in there.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, in every game, I think we could find certainly more than one example on any game we've played. Be it Ark, we've already named a bunch of examples. And I think it applies in the building aspect, in preparing for boss fights, because we even see like, the first time you run a cave, it's like, well, did you watch a video about it? Are you really going in blind, getting the maximum experience of a cave exploration mission in Ark? Mm-hmm. Or are you kind of already aware of what you're going to face in there? If you're going in like blind, dude, the suspense and anxiety and fun factors are just going through the roof, dude, especially if you're alone. If you're with your tribe mates, there's a little bit more increase on the fun side, a little bit less on the anxiety side, but it's still extremely like, yeah, dude. It's, for us to go into one of these caves, if you're alone, it's still fun, but I'd say the little anxiety bar goes up a little bit more. But that's great, because that's just part of it, man. You're going in there, so you got your grappling hooks, your shotgun, you got a pike or a sword or something, and it's going to be insane, and you got to get in there deep, and you at least got to leave with the artifact. If you get the loot boxes, great, but you got to leave with the artifact. That's the whole point of the cave run, But okay, if you watch a video about it first, you're optimizing. That's what we're talking about. We're optimizing the fun out of our gaming experiences. That's what this gentleman was referencing. What was his name again, real quick, Chuck?
Soren Johnson, I think.
Soren Johnson. That's what he's talking about. So you saw now it's not going to be the same. Well, if you go in there with, you go in there and you experience it, and then you become familiar with it, and then you start taking in tames that necessarily you wouldn't be taking in there. You're kind of taking all of that fun out of it, and then, after a little bit, exactly. I did this last night. I literally did this last night. The first time we went into the blue cave, it was like, all right, guys, let's see what happens. And remember, we ended up facing off with a rock golem, and it was extremely fun, dude. All three of us were like, God damn, where did this rock? I remember, was it Pepe or was it you that yelled out, oh, or something like that?
It's a rock golem.
There's a rock.
We both simultaneously yelled rock golem. Yeah.
It was so loud. It was so much fun. And then last night, I basically just got on a Thyla and just kept hitting jump, dude. I was just jumping down the cave.
Yeah,
jump,
you can go around him now and be just as well off. He's not gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after that, we got the artifact, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the South Cave real quick and get that one. Nope, no factor. Flew down there because we found out that there was a secret passage to the right hand side where you could skip all the shit and just grab the art. So talk about optimizing.
Yeah. I have to say, like in Ark, now in my after several thousand hours of playing, like sort of like cold running caves like that makes sense. But back in the beginning, I remember being much more intimidated by the caves and getting lost a shit ton more. And it's like some of them were so, like, I didn't have like this slideshow in my mind of like, okay, here's how this usually plays out. Here's what they might do. It might be that I need to grapple up to the top of this roof and do something. But until you go through that once, you're not really looking for that. And I felt like those caves were just so damn hard. I had to watch a video. Hell, I've had to watch a video, and I think we did it just to get back out. Like, we had to stop and ask a guy one time. Like, he was flying by on a pterodon. We were like, "Say, brother, how the hell did we get out of here?" And, like, I think he even told us, and then we came back by him a little bit later. He had to, like, lead us out of there. Like,
yeah. Yeah, he told us, and not even that worked.
Yeah, but now.
What cave? That was on, was that on Aberration? No. No, it was. It was an Aberration. It was one of the Aberration caves. We got so fucking turned around in there, man.
Now I'm starting though, like after just like dealing with all the caves on the island and stuff. Like I feel like I have a pretty good thought process of what they might do. You know, and some of my least favorite things are like in that desert cave when they have an abyss that you can fall into.
I hate that. Because as soon as you fall and touch something, like if you hit the side of the mountain,
500,000. Like it shows that you've been hit with 500,000.
1,000 damage melee, or like whatever just killed you. It was with 500,000 melee point.
I bet
you
may have never been into it, but on the island in the ice cave, it's like that. And one of the water things, like it looks just fine, like all the rest of the water ones. But you get just like, about the height of a Rex deep in that water, and 500,000, like you're gone. And you can still see your body when you come back in. Like I ultimately grappled my body back out of that one time and got my stuff back. But
ooh, lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky, dude.
Oh, when it goes down a hole like that, you're just like, ugh. And I have something I want to point out. Like, we did talk a lot about the boss fights and our experience yesterday and stuff. Is the boss fights are just unforgiving as shit on this game, man. I didn't even expect us to lose all our shit yesterday. Like
yeah, that caught me off guard too.
I thought at least we're coming home with our dinos, and like it just twists the knife. Like, I mean,
it was like, nah, to hell with you and your equipment and your tames and your saddles. To hell with you. Yeah. I didn't expect that, but I didn't expect that. It was a hit, obviously, but I didn't feel that bad about it because they were really bad Rexes. That's why I was like, and in a way, while I feel like we gotta be careful of that thin line between optimizing the fun out of something and playing it because it's meant to be played and it's meant to be done. There's a fine line between that, and my whole thing was just, it's like, it's all good. I'm just going to breed more, whatever, and we're going to do it again. Because they were the first generation of our Rexes, and if you've played Ark, you know that if you haven't played Ark, you should give it a shot. It's insanely fun if you're into survival games and crafting. But it's going to take time to get the mutations in on these. And see, yesterday we learned out of direct experience that it's true. It's probably better to use wyverns on that boss fight. I saw multiple. We're talking about it again. Optimizing, watching videos and shit. I did. Guilty. I watched a bunch of videos about this boss fight because I wanted to be prepared. And I saw examples where wyverns were being used and Rexes. And no one ever brought up the thing about the Manicore rarely landing. That never even came up. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just do Rexes. We're familiar with them. It's good old-fashioned way. No factor. And, the guy was like, yeah, it's pretty, you can definitely do it with primitive saddles, decent Rexes, no problem. So, yeah, it just didn't turn out that way. It was just the first generation of Rexes. We just now started we just got a health mutation finally. So... But, now we come to find out that Rexes might not even be the answer. So all of that breeding and stuff, yeah, it took a minute, but it was a slow burn. We're not going to need those Rexes anymore anyways, so I'm kind of glad in a way that the game took care of them for us. Because what were we going to do with 20 Rexes of the first generation line, Yeah. And now I can work on our wyvern line and produce some extra boosted wyverns for us with mutations, And next time we go in there, I'm not going to watch any videos. We'll just go in there and sick the wyverns on that Manicore and come out with some element, hopefully.
I did watch some videos last night too, and I started from a place of searching like Manicore won't land, and it happens a lot to people because there's actually Manicores in a few different boss fights. Not just on Scorched Earth, but
we faced the Manicore together before,
and we've had trouble
Ragnarok.
with them not landing before. And I think it can all have its issues, and man, some of those are just so complicated. If you don't watch something, like when you consider what it takes to get those artifacts and the tribute to go with it, like man, it's a tough learning curve to have to.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the
learn
collecting
your
all
way.
the tributes to pain, collecting all the tribute and stuff. But I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like Scorched Earth is very lean, very forgiving compared to other.
The scar is
other
a very
maps.
lenient scar. It's got a ton of room.
Well, not just that, but the simple fact that the only thing they ask you for on Scorched Earth in terms of tribute to do a boss fight are just the wyvern talons. That's the only thing you have to collect. You know, on any other map, if you've played Ark, you know this. You know, you gotta get Titana Boa Venom. You gotta get Argentavis claws. You gotta get Rex arms. You've gotta get Uteranus slungs and all these different
There'll be something
and
that's hard to
sometimes you
get
gotta
to.
you gotta get a lot, man.
Yeah.
Like I remember like sometimes we'd have to get like 20 Titana Boa Venom or something, and those little bastards don't always give up.
It's like
venom,
every
you know?
third one you actually get something from it. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, the boss fights are tough on there, man. I want to point out, I don't really know how to bring it into this conversation, but I do want to point out that it has been a playthrough ender for us a few times, like where, and we'll be real positive when it happens, like especially that time it glitched and just like it was no fault of our own, it just took all our shit. We were like, yeah, no problem, we'll get that stuff back. Like we said all the positive things, but like somewhere our bodies were just like, let's play something different.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Yeah,
but not this time, Chuck. It ain't gonna happen this time, man.
It happened early enough in the playthrough this time that it just, I truly believe we're going to come back from this. But like,
we already have, dude. Like, I mean, last night you kept playing. You went over to the island to check on your situation over there, and you know. Even it wasn't more than 5 minutes where I was already pulling out the wyverns to get that going. Pepe was back to decorating the base, which, dude, I insist, dude. Whatever you sign, just kind of walk around and just slowly look at each room, dude, and look at Pepe went insane last night. And you know, I don't know. There's something different about this playthrough. At least I don't know if it's because it's the fact that like Pepe Tortilla is so freaking like into it this time, dude. It reminds me of when because he was the one that told me about Ark back in the day. He was the obsessed one, and then I remember like for years he was just like, nah, man, it's just nah, you know. And he'd come on and he'd play with us for a session or two, and then you know we wouldn't see him again on there. But this time it's just been a completely. We actually finally have a really solid third tribe mate.
True.
Mickey's always been a very solid tribe mate as well. Mickey Soren,
beyond solid.
The OG Mickey the Dick, man, our boy, solid tribe mate. But you know, he has family and stuff, so his life, his IRL situation is different. Mm-hmm. But having Pepe Tortilla fully back on as a fully engaged, like, let's do it, tribe mate. It's been great. It's been fun.
Yeah. I have to say, like. Yeah, there's something Pepe kind of marches to his own, like because you notice like he always plays Battlefield 1. It's always in the background for him. Like hell, he's got a YouTube channel for it. Like and
oh, check that out, by the way, fellow listeners. If you're you know, if you want to just just action-packed clips of Battlefield action. You know, just bite-sized, action-packed clips of Battlefield 1 awesomeness, go to his channel. I think it's just Pepe Tortilla, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or is it
that should get you there?
Yeah, that'll get you there. Pepe Tortilla Battle Clips. Check that out.
Yeah.
And subscribe to his channel. Drop him some love. He'd love to see it. They're great clips. Yeah, but yeah, he's always ready to pull out the those World War I weapons and
yeah, and you know, you see him playing some other stuff too.
Clack,
you know, like lately, I guess it's been Tunic and things like that. You know, he definitely has always some other, and you know, I remember like kind of when we first played Ark, and you could see he was kind of, you know, not necessarily like he was kind of doing his own thing there too some, and I understand why, man. Like it was hard for me when we first played together, and like that I think a new map came out and everyone went there, like a lot of those first things, like the amount of time that gets put into things and how quickly they can be abandoned was a little hard for me to adjust to.
I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
And I think that might
and I know that feeling.
Yeah, one of the perspectives that kind of makes him a little more cautious of getting just going super ham on it, because man, it does. I want to get better
and I
at
think
those endings.
The technology upgrade was it. Oh, I want you to continue on that point. One sec. But I think another factor for Pepe was, and he's said this, and I'm sure other fellow Ark gamers out there will totally understand this, but he also grew very tired of the bugginess and glitchiness and crashiness and all of the Arkness that we're all so familiar with. Yeah. And we'd probably miss it if it disappeared someday, all of the Arkness that we get hit with, but he was over that shit. So when it came onto PS5 and they actually then updated it to Ark Ascended, I think that was a huge thing for him, man, because he says it all the time. God, I love this on the PS. It's amazing, dude. Look at how look, you can see the fur on the thyla moving. He just loved it. Well, and I get that.
Well, what I think's funny is the amount of shit you and I are willing to put up with from it. Because like when you guys logged on the other day and the whole damn thing was screwed up, like everyone is basically saying it's unplayable. I've been playing for like 2 hours.
Dude, for what it's worth, I think Pepe is a little bit more intense with that shit. I was willing to continue playing Ark.
I heard it in your voice. Like you said, you was like, it's not that bad. And like it was so fucking bad. Like I could take like 2 steps and my body would be back 2 feet behind me. And I tamed shit like that. Like I tamed the freaking like Basilosaurus and like all kind of shit. And like,
I'll tame a gig on that 1,000 fucking ping, bitch. Who cares?
I was like, well, maybe when they get on, like their game won't be doing it, and like as soon as y'all got on and started experiencing, you're like, we can't play this. Yeah, you're right. You shouldn't, because it's nuts what I've been doing.
I was ready to tolerate it, because that's how fun it is, But yeah, I remember Pepe going, "Oh, guys, we have to play something else." Yeah, that was like he didn't even. There wasn't even a 5 seconds of like, let me give it some time. No, he was just like, "Guys, let's go play something else." This is just very. He had already decided for us.
Yeah. I could hear it in his voice that it was not negotiable. But yeah, if whatever reason he wasn't on, and I just said maybe it'll clear up in a minute, you'd have been like, yeah, let's do some building. You'd have found some way that it didn't matter.
I don't need to move that much to do this task in here.
That's kind of how I started. But then I was like, well, I'll just go over to the island and see, and then I got over there and I saw a whale, and I was like, that's not a bad one to tame. And then I lost my shit because of what was happening. Like I got killed by just stupid underwater animals, and then I was trying to get it back. And yeah, I would have kept on playing. Like, yeah, there's the buy-in in that game is off the charts, dude. Like it can be just practically not even working. Like you could just show me like a freaking dinosaur drawn on some construction paper or something, and I'm like, well, it's kind of working. I can still feel him.
Dang, dude. Well, damn, Chuck. We've knocked. Okay. Wow. This has been a fun discussion, man. It's already been an hour, and fellow gamers, I'm not gonna lie. I had intended this episode to be about a whole different topic that we never even remotely got approached. I'm not even gonna bring it up because this has been such a freaking fantastic episode about, I guess we could call a little bit about the gaming psychology of the gamer in a way, like some of the
fun versus like efficiency is
versus over optimizing, like interesting, very interesting, dude. I'm really glad you brought that up and sent me that quote and that video. One more time, just to close with that quote again. What were his words?
Make sure I got it completely correct here. I got it on my phone.
So we can leave the fellow gamers with this, and just keep having fun, fellow gamers. We don't want to over optimize.
Given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a game. And his name, check, is Soren Johnson.
Soren Johnson. Good words. Thank you for those wise words.
Well, shoot. 50 episodes, dude, put it in a can. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Oh yeah. Dude. Well, fellow gamers, fellow listeners, and ChukTomahawk, thank you all for 50 episodes. We're going to keep on recording, keep on having a good time, and keep on gaming. And hopefully, we won't optimize too much.
We're going to optimize the fun, baby.
There we go. If you're going to optimize the fun. Good words, Chuck. Yeah, I like that. Well, let's close with that. Thank you, everyone. Chuck, thank you, man. And hey, if you enjoy the pod, please drop us a like, a 5-star rating, a review. Share it with your fellow gamers. Help us get out there to New Year's. It's the best way you can help us out as an independent podcast. It's super helpful, and we're super grateful for your time. We appreciate it. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. If you hear this on the weekend still, I guess we are recording on a Sunday. I'll try to get this up as fast as possible, man. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Any final words?
No, man, I'm ready to do some gaming.
I'm sure everyone else is too. All right. Love you, Chuck. Love you, everyone. See you on the next one.